Hello, welcome to chapter 10, area of parallelograms and triangles. So when we're talking about area, it's talking about the hole in between the shape. When you're talking about a rectangle, usually you're pretty familiar with its base times height. Now when you're talking about the height though, the height always creates a 90-degree angle. So when we're talking about a parallelogram, it's still going to be base times height. However, the height always has to create this 90-degree angle. Depending on which height you're using, depends on what base you are using. So right here, because of this 90-degree angle, that's the base and here's the height. Now let's say if we're looking at one of these pictures, I'm going to do B, you're going to do A. And it's not as clear. One thing is if you highlight this 90-degree angle right here, that's going to indicate which one's the height. So this right here is the height of that shape. That means the other side that helps create that 90-degree angle is going to be the base. So in this case, actually, this is where I'm going to do 8 times 12. So the area of this parallelogram is 96. In this case, we're talking about millimeters. And whenever you're doing area, it's always going to be your area or your units squared because we have two units here. We have millimeters here and here. So again, I want you to pause the video and try to find the area of this first one. So my base here would be 10. My height here is 8 because you always have to look for that 90-degree angle. That always will find you your height. So this would be 80 inches. So what if I have this? What is going on here, Ms. Rickman? This is so confusing. Well, first, I have two 90-degree angles, okay? This is my shape right here. Here's my parallelogram. This 90-degree angle right here is using this as my height, right there, that dotted line. Now, this is not part of the parallelogram, so this is the base of with using that 90-degree angle. And I also have a 90-degree angle right here. So for that 90-degree angle, this would be my height, and this right here would be my base. However, when you're finding the area of any parallelogram or rectangle, the area does not change. So in this case, if I wanted to find the area using this base, that's 4, the height here is h. That area has to be equal to the area here, which this base is 8 because opposite sides are congruent, and this height is 3. So 8 times 3. So what I really have going on here is a pre-algebra math problem. So the hardest part is figuring out which base and which height go together. Now I divide by 4, and I get h is equal to 6. I want you to pause the video and try to do B by yourself. And you would have had this base here with this height because of this 90-degree angle. So this would be base times height. That's where this comes from. This height here, because here's the 9 degrees, and this base. Again, this part right here is not part of that parallelogram. This is here to show you what the height is. So when you have a slant in a shape, the height is always creating a 90 degrees. So this base times height is the 46.8. Solve, you should have got h is equal to 7.2. Now we're talking about area of a triangle. Same thing here. When you have a triangle, you always want to look for that 90 degrees. That 90 degrees will give you the height of the shape and then the base in which you're looking for. The biggest thing though with a triangle is the fact that this is half of a rectangle. So my area for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So I'm looking at this first one. I'm looking at my base and my height. So this whole thing is my base because that's all part of the triangle. That is part of my image. Here is my height. So when I look for the area of this triangle, it's 1/2 times my base. Now my base is these two added together, which would be 13. 5 plus 8 is 13 times my height. So if I plug that into my calculator, I would get 39 feet squared. I want you to pause the video and try to do B and C by yourself. So this first one, this 2 there is just there to confuse you. That 2 is not part of this triangle. Here is the base, okay? Here's my 90-degree angles to help you figure out what the height is, but this is the base for that. Notice how I did not include that 2 in there. So it's 1/2 base times height, 19.28. So here again, here's my 90-degree angle. So my base and my height create that 90-degree angle. So 1/2, 9 times 6. Now if I have a question where I have to find an irregular shape, one of the things that when you're looking at the shape is, are you adding things together or are you taking things out? So in your brain, you're thinking, would I have to cut something out in order to find the area? That means you're subtracting. So if I look at this, I have two things going on here. One, this length is still going to be 5. Two, you could draw the height right here to make this that's 5. To make this 90-degree angle. I have this area of this rectangle. Now in a rectangle, it's base times height. Base times height here would be 5 times 12, which would be equal to 60. I have to add that to the area of this triangle. Now this triangle, my base here would be 5, because that's this length here. My height, this whole shebang is 6, and this guy is 12. If I just needed this height, I would do 16 minus 12, and I would get 4. So it would be 1/2 5 times 4, which would give me 10. So now if I add those two together, it would be 70 centimeters squared. I want you to pause the video and do B by yourself. So this height right here, this 90 degrees, is the only 90 degrees we have. That's the height for both shapes because of the fact that they meet at this corner. Now, this height, this 90 degrees, would be the same thing as if I had the 18 there with this 90 degrees. So here's my base of my parallelogram, and here's my height. So base times height, that's the 720. That's the area of my parallelogram. Now if I look at this 90 degrees still is my height of my triangle, but here is the base of that triangle because that's what I make the 90 degrees with. 1/2 base times height, you get 450. So if you add those two together, you get 1,170 meters squared. There you go. I hope you have a grand, I hope you have a wonderful day.